Brian here, welcome back to the Angels Modelling and Railways. Yeah, had a bit of a disaster. Put down some fresh clay, air drying clay, in order to build the road network through Angels Ridge, the little town. This part here is DAS clay, which worked perfectly. There's just a tiny little crack over there. Got this other clay, I think it's called Scola, and don't buy it, it's rubbish. I put it down, done exactly the same with this, put down some PVA as a bond, then put the clay on it and just gently massaged it until it was nice and flat and level, without pushing it too much, without stretching it too much, kind of being partially aware that if you do that, it's got more potential to crack. But yeah, ended up, I'll put the pictures in now so you can see the cracks are quite severe, and I ended up, I had to remove them because it actually come away from the baseboard. So I've got some more DAS clay coming, and I'll continue with the roads as I've marked out on my town plan, which will come up here past where the freight depot is. Then we've got the storage shed, which is basically for all the materials that come in for people in the town, because there's going to be little shops and stuff here and provisions, and you've got to imagine that the town kind of carries on elsewhere, so where other people live they need the provisions. Here's going to be a form of a wood manufacturer doing furniture or barrels or something. I'm going to have obviously a kind of lumber related industry there, and I've put down some fibre mould to fill out the areas between the tracks, so when I put down the ballast it's not got too high a shoulder, and it also gives me a kind of undulating surface so it's not perfectly flat. That was my idea of using a 3mm cork underneath the track, which they raise it up in order to force me to put down a ground form and just make it not perfectly flat the way you would see on the baseboard that any materials on it will be flat. On this it's a lumpy surface, so when you look across it you'll see the unevenness, and fibre mould is excellent in creating that. So I've done that on these areas here, and down in that corner I've got some more to put in. I'm going to put some fibre mould in at certain areas where I know there's not going to be any buildings, any people. There's just going to be ground form, and try and create some land form so there isn't a perfect kind of flat edge there. I might actually in certain aspects build up something in front, slightly raised in order for it to look different, and when the mountains are behind it, it doesn't have a seam where you can kind of see where it joins. We'll disguise it with bushes, and obviously there's static grass and all those materials to go down. So yeah, this is a general idea. Going to have some shacks here, going to have a water tower here, going to have the coal facilities here, the sandbox, as well as the engine shed at the back, the diesel fueling facility. I've been looking at them, and there's not a great variety out there, and if I buy one that's already in kit form and so, it will still look like one that many other people have got. So I'm probably going to fully scratch build the diesel facility here, maybe buy a kit for the little building, but for the rest, as far as the pumps and all that kind of go, I'm going to build my own version, maybe get the tank, maybe get 2 tanks to fit in. I've seen online there was a great design in a layout where the tank was up high on trusses, and underneath it was the little cabin and buildings that were associated to it, a kind of more rural, rustic, kind of narrow gauge effect. Even though this is standard gauge, that's sort of the feel I'm going for, the way the ON30 modelers usually express their lumber scenes. I'm very impressed by that. Rich White and Dave Meek and people like that, the way they do their ON30 stuff, looks amazing, and I love that kind of detail, so that's what I'm aiming for in this area, if you can imagine. So yeah, I'll show you some progress of the rock faces and putting the moss in and creating that, and my idea for what's happening here. So thanks again. So thanks to one of my subscribers, Paul at Platform 10, and many subscribers that do leave comments, which I very much appreciate. I do like the feedback. I always like people leaving comments, because Paul made a great point in the corner of the layout here where I had the back scene going into this scene and I was working on it, kind of caught up in the moment and not really thinking ahead too much. Paul's done that thinking ahead for me. Paul came up with a really good point of view, and it is a curved back seam. Curved back seams make sense. I've seen them multiple times. They look great. It's the perfect way of kind of framing a layout without having a horrible 90-degree corner like that there. And what will happen here. So Paul has basically inspired me. Excuse me while I just grab something to demonstrate this while I'm in the corner with all the shadows and stuff. But yeah, so if I put this little bit of cork in here, that's the idea Paul's talking about, is curving that corner. So we can curve this corner where it is over the scenery there, which I think will work. I'll have to retweak it, but very much if I stick that in there, you can see how that curve will look a lot better than a 90-degree angle. So that's why I like feedback and comments on the channel. It's very much appreciated, and it certainly gives me food for thought. And doing that sort of idea at this stage is better than getting all your back seam kind of put in and then realising, wait a minute, I should have curved the back seam. So thanks again to Paul. That was a great point of view, and it's something I'm now going to endeavour to do. I'm definitely going to go ahead and inform curves one way, shape or form for the back seam, so we can take away the 90-degree angle that's over here, and we can take away the 90-degree angle which is over finger move there. So if we can get rid of those 90-degree angles, that'll look far better. So yeah, progress so far. Doesn't look like a lot, but there's still plenty of hours being put into this, especially doing the moss. If I zoom right in, hopefully it will stay in focus. You can see so many little parts that I've just got little bits of moss, and then larger parts. But it certainly took its time getting it together, top and bottom. You can see there, just adding that bit of greenery in makes a difference. Yeah, it's looking good. Getting there. Using two different green blends, a darker green and a light green, I then sprinkle these onto the areas where I've applied the PVA glue with the brush, and this helps add the moss and the damp patch effect. So here we are at part 2 of building the road network on Angels Ridge. Having got myself back to normal with the DAS clay, which handling this stuff against the other stuff, which is just far more superior. It's easy to manipulate, it's easy to spread out, add a little bit of water, it doesn't tear or shred, and it's a great product, DAS clay. But yeah, I've put in the path area that's going to come down here towards the station, across those lines. And I've also put the road in. Now on the left hand side of the road, this side is a little bit rough because there's going to be some shacks and stuff in here. So there's not going to be any pavement, it'll just be a kind of dirt trail at the front of these shacks. Whereas on the other side, there will be a pavement outside the Angels Ridge office and the buildings along here. So there will be a curbstone and pavement sidewalk put in. So that's all I've done just now. I've put all that in, which is way more than the other one that I've put in, and it's really probably just to kind of prove a point that you can lay a load of DAS clay and not have too many disasters with it. A couple of cracks is fine, you can fill them in, but when the whole thing is cracked every square inch, that's when you're up against it. So we'll see how this dries and I'll get back to you once it is. So coming back to the DAS clay the next day, I can see that it's dried, it's bone hard, and it's got very few cracks in it, just from areas where I've filled in little gaps with little bits of clay and they've seemed to have cracked a tiny little bit, but it looks spot on, and I'll just carry on doing the rest of the roads that way. So thanks again for watching, take care and all the best, and I'll catch you in the next upload.